In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to add integers. I'm going to be here to guide you step by step. Without much further ado, let's go straight into our lesson. So starting off, you're probably wondering, how do you add integers? And to simply put it, there are no step-by-step things you follow to add them. Instead, you follow rules, and you follow these rules because they determine the result of your answer. They determine if your answer is going to be a positive or negative. So starting off, your first rule would be, if you add two positives together, you're going to end off with a positive. Your second rule is that if you have two negatives, then you're going to end up with a negative in your final answer. Now let's switch it up a bit. If you have an equation and you have a negative and a positive, you're going to want to carefully look at that equation and decide what absolute value is the bigger number here, essentially. So if you have a negative number and it's bigger than the positive number, then you're going to end off with a negative. Now, if you have a positive number and it's bigger compared to that negative in that equation, then you're going to end off with a positive number. So that is why we essentially have these rules in place, because they determine if our answer is going to be a negative or positive. So depending on how your equation is set up and how you are giving your numbers, then you're going to simply follow these rules, plug them in, and then you should get your answer. So it's just addition, just with a little bit more steps to it, a little bit more of a rule around it in this case. And this concept mainly goes hand in hand with absolute value. Now, once again, I do have a video talking about integers and absolute value if you want to check that out as a quick refresher. Now, let's do our example. So for my very first example, I have negative 20 plus 8. I see that my negative here is the bigger number compared to the positive number that I'm given. So applying that integer rule, I know I'm going to end off with a negative number. So I'm going to set my equation up accordingly, negative 20 plus 8. And since I know that my negative number is going to be greater, I'm actually going to add that 8 into the negative 20. So I'm actually going to do 20 minus 8, because for me, I like to drop the negative just for a little bit, and I know I would get 12. So adding that 8 into a negative gets me 12, and since I know 20 is the bigger number, I'm going to add that negative sign, so I get negative 12. Alright, now going on to our second example, I have 9 plus negative 2. So I see that I have a number with a large positive number, and then I see I have a smaller negative number. Now looking at my rules, I know that since my positive is the bigger number here, I'm going to end off with the positive. So I'm going to set my equation up accordingly, 9 plus negative 2. And when I add this to my equation, I know that I'm going to get 7, because 9 minus 2 is 7. And of course, since my 9 is bigger, it just reminds me that my answer, which is 7, is going to remain a positive. I do not have to add a negative sign. Going on my third example, I have 6 plus 11. These are both positives, so I just add accordingly. 6 plus 11, and I get 17. Going on to my fourth and last example, I have negative 33 plus negative 5. So I see that I have two negatives here. And what I'm simply going to do is add them accordingly. So 33 plus 5, I know that's going to get me 38. I just add my negative sign. So in our examples, we have applied these integer rules when it comes to addition. And just so you remember this, whether you are dividing, multiplying, adding, or subtracting, your integer rules change slightly each time. So as long as you look at your operation and can eventually remember the rules that apply to each, you should be fine. But please keep in mind that every operation has a different set of rules. They may look similar, but they are different. And I remember in middle school, I used to get that a little bit confused at the very beginning. So it's very important that you keep an eye out. But this concludes our lesson, and this is Ari, the math tutor, signing off. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.